This is one of the muddiest gravel races I've ever done and what I learned from the experience. We've just got back from the hills, a gravel race in Italy, a very big one. I think this would give the Mud Day at Unbound in 2020 a good run for its money. I grew up racing cyclocross. Mud is something I've thrived in previously. I had an extremely suboptimal result this time.
It's almost over. It's almost over, man.
Yeah. Definitely learned a few things, and I think this would be a great video to explain what I learned from racing in these muddier conditions and how you can prepare for the muddy gravel races of the seasons. Let's get it.
150 kilometers and you're done.
The Hills gravel race was being run for the very first time. It's run by Mattia De Marchi, who is a prominent figure in the gravel racing scene. Really nice guy. It was going to be 180 kilometers with this amount of climbing, and at this time of year in Italy you can get both sides of the weather forecast, and this time we did not get the more favorable. It rained from start to finish. It had rained quite a bit in Italy in the previous days. We were up for a mud fest, and that meant for some changes in the setup. I've already made some content on Instagram about the hills already. If you want like slightly quicker updates or just content a little bit faster, I've got plenty of stuff over on Instagram. Go check that out. It was a pretty flying visit. Me and my bike box traveled in and out of Venice Marco Polo Airport, and we arrived at Marco Polo. We rented possibly one of the cheapest car rentals I've ever. This car rental experience was a bit of a flick. Would you believe it? You can get 2 bike boxes in a VW Polo and a suitcase. Impressive. Did not think that was possible. I did get flicked because they were supposed to give me the VW T-Roc. We move. Anyway, we got to Marco Polo. The schedule was going to be, I was just going to build my bike when I got there. We were going to do a recon and set up some of our bikes with the rest of the Carnago heads. And then on Saturday we were going to race. And then Sunday morning I was going to take my ass back to Girona. And that's what happened. Everyone's arrived at the house. The next day we've gotten up, we've gone for the recon. Why do we do the recons? We do recons because A, the legs need activating after travel, especially after travel. And this just gets all your muscles firing on all cylinders. That did not happen for me. We will get to that. On the recon, it's a good opportunity to get some content, also test the setups, make sure the bikes are optimal for what we're about to race. And we didn't have as much rain as we were going to have in the race in the recon. That's also something you've got to juggle and plan ahead for. Saying that, again, I've been working on my cinematography, and I think I've gone slightly better on the grading this time. I'm still very much a student, I would say, at editing raw S-Log footage from an FX3. These are some of the shots that we got that I was quite happy with, and I think I've got room for improvement. Let me know what you think. Having the recon done, the Italians, they cooked some of the best pasta I've had cooked for me. Obviously, it's al dente. They went and cleaned out the supermarket with the best produce. This region of Italy, I've been told, is extremely good for food, and it definitely didn't disappoint. We whipped out the dad cam to capture some funny moments the night before the race. I'll insert the...
Ethan, what are you doing the night before?
Yeah, just a quick,
the big race.
Pre-hub swap, you know.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. Just,
That's quite normal protocol, isn't it, really?
Yeah, normally it's pre-race ritual, swap the free hub, mix and match the pieces, that sort of thing.
Yeah, replace the full bearing set as well.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's that's
relaxing, no? Working with Campagno stuff. Usually relaxing.
yeah.
Like most things in Italy, everything is so relaxing.
You know, I'm a chill guy.
Yeah, chill guy. The Italians are the most non-chill people to exist. I had to call the British Cycling Federation so that I could enter today's ride. I had British Cycling at the end of the phone sending me my license. Choices, decisions, Ethan, decisions.
Everybody can agree that the level in gravel is just going up, and this is exactly what we were met with at the start line of the hills on Saturday, with 180 kilometers ahead of us in the rain. It was going to be fast from the gun, and it was. Unfortunately, with the weather, it's quite difficult to get really good Insta360 shots. The thing just gets covered in mud, and there's really no camera on this earth that you could use that would just stop this from happening. I'll insert some of the carnage that I did manage to capture. I wish it would have worked. I wish it didn't get covered in mud. I would have caught many people falling off. There were more can't park there situations and parking tickets handed out than I've ever handed out in my life. If you crashed in front of me, politely be happy that the Insta360 wasn't on. If you would like an Insta360, I've got a commission link which you can use. I earn a little bit of commission. I genuinely think it's the best action camera for capturing cycling. I've spoken about this many times. It's genuinely one of the best, and if you want that, link is in the bio. Riding in these conditions will give you a great advantage if you're not the strongest rider. You can use different parts of the course to your advantage. You know, if you're struggling a little bit more on uphills and you're a better descender, in the mud, you're going to be even better riding in the mud because it's a different approach to cornering in the dry. And these are all skills which you can work on that will help you be better if you're not the strongest rider. Quite frankly, having grown up riding cyclocross, which is predominantly raced in the mud, I can confirm I have beaten many riders who are much stronger than me with this approach. And don't think these wet conditions as like a reason to be put off, and you can take advantage of these things and you have to look at it as a positive. You can also optimize your setup so that you have more clearance, and this especially helped me at Unbound when it was like this super muddy year. I chose a slightly narrower Pirelli tire. I wasn't sponsored by Pirelli at this time. They did hook me up with some tires, which was really kind of them. And with those tires, I cleared through the mud section, which many people didn't, and it caused their bikes to stop and clog up. And these are other ways you can optimize your setup to essentially do better in competition if that's what you wanted to do. You can use these conditions to your advantage, and those are some of the ways you can do that. The muddy conditions were claiming bodies left, right, center, both on the flat, not only on the tarmac, on the mud, on the gravel, all over the place. People were falling over. Visibility was extremely poor. In the morning, I decided to wear overshoes, and I'm going to talk a little bit about like different ways you can dress so that you can be more optimal in the wet weather conditions, especially at this time of the year where it can be warm, it can also be quite cold. Regardless, I always would wear like overshoes, and overshoes you can get like these latex ones, rubber ones. Brands like Socklong make a good wet weather overshoe. You've got Spats from the UK makes a really good wet weather overshoe. I use this one called Velotoes. I use these white sort of rubber overshoes, and they've just come out with a new version, and they're really good, and you can wear them with shorts or you can wear them over your longs. They look really smart in my opinion, and they also just keep your shoes dry. But I broke one on the start finish. I just clipped it on the barrier and it like tore the thing open, and I raced the race with one overshoe on, which is just a bit of an L really. One shoe was completely covered in crap and the other one was completely dry.
One overshoe on, one overshoe. I got no legs because they left the chat before the race even started. My washing machine is about to do a generational performance. Thanks for coming. Italy 2-0.
I also found myself, as I got into the race more and more, I did start to get slightly cold, and in hindsight I wish I had double jerseyed up. World Tour riders use this thing called a gabbo, which is like a really thick short sleeve jersey. You can just do the same thing with two short sleeve jerseys and it effectively works as the same thing, and this is just a good way of retaining more heat, especially when you're racing in the wet. I would say it's slightly better to be a little bit on the warmer side than the colder side. You're obviously using more energy if you're more cold. And I ran with a long sleeve jersey, and then I also wore my Rafa rain jacket, which has been absolutely carrying me, not only in this race, in the weeks that have preceded, as this part of Spain has received some of the most insane amount of rain known in its existence. Shout out to the Rafa jacket, which absolutely carried. Other ways you can optimize your setup for the wet weather or muddy conditions. Go in with the mentality that it's gonna be really tough, because if you go in there thinking, oh, it's not that bad, it's not that bad, you might set yourself up for some intense experiences that you might not be too prepared for. Just in your head. And honestly, inside the bunch, when the spray is coming up off the wheels, was a firm reminder that it's racing in the wet is something else. Another thing we're going to talk about is tire choice in the wet weather conditions. And I think it's important to mention that I am sponsored by Pirelli. I have used many other tires before. I found myself using Pirelli tires quite a lot last year, and when they approached me for sponsorship, I think it was a pretty easy decision. Pirelli Cinturado tires they've got an RC, which is the tire I used, which is like a medium grip to mud ratio tires, something that's got good rolling resistance, not the best rolling resistance, provides me with a lot of grip, and that was the one I went for, which I think was not the best. Actually, I think I should have gone for the Gravel M. Bit more rolling resistance, more grip in the corners, because I was fighting the bike a little bit. You also have the Gravel H, you have the Gravel S. Somebody asked me what tires I was going to be running at Unbound this year. At the moment, be riding the Gravel H's, but this could all change with changing weather conditions. We will see. Why is tire choice important? Tire choice is going to give you either good rolling resistance or good grip. You need to roll the dice with how you value each of those things for the course. And again, there was quite a few road sections on the Hills gravel race, and you didn't want to go for an extreme mud tire because it would be really slow on some of the tarmac. Then you didn't want to risk being all over the place on the descents and falling over and falling victim to VC Let's Get It shouting "can't park there" when you come past. Can't park there, slightly slow on the frat. It's your kind of choice. Gravel, it must be said that you should just be running tubeless because that is just the golden standard here. How did my Hills experience go? I must say, off the bat, it was carnage in a great way. The weather did not serve at all. This is also okay and uncontrollable. The course and the organization and the safety and the amount of marshals that were here and there. You could have done the course without a GPX. The GPX is the file that you put on your computer to point you in the right direction. You did not need that, in my opinion. There were marshals on every corner, on every junction, stopping traffic, and I felt extremely safe the entire time, even though there's me and more than 1,000 other Europeans like bundling around the gravel course, falling over left, right, center. Rain or shine, this was a really good event, and I would love to do the course in the dry. Again, like Strada, another great race to put on the calendar. Even though I've been training a huge amount more this year, logging all of my training in Training Peaks, I can see it quite clearly that I have been training like super consistently, more consistently than I've ever trained. Some days you can't control what you're going to wake up and feel like. And unfortunately, the Hills was just one of those days. I just woke up, my legs felt super heavy on the bike. I was suffering at times where I shouldn't be suffering. I'm pushing the pedals and they're just hurting much more than they usually do. And I just figured that today is just not my day. I suffered, I backed it off. I found my patron, a fellow sufferer, Frank, who he rides for the Enough cycling team, and we both agreed that we were going to do like the shorter version. There was an 80k split, and when it came to the split decision where you decide which one you do, it was an extremely easy decision, especially after I had like probably 3 layers of mud on me at that point. I just rode home after doing 80k, and one of the things I feel like I've matured in massively with racing is just like learning how to deal with the bad days, because it's all good when it's going good, not getting demoralized and understanding your body when it doesn't give you what it wants is also really important, and that is just part of competitive sport in my opinion. It would be nice to feel like Tadej every day of the week. That is just not feasible for most of the human population. We caught Toby Perry at the finish, who's gonna explain to us how we won the race. I'll insert the dagcam clip here.
Got to a steep fucking climb, launched it with 70k to go, and then hated my life the rest of the way home.
And did you bonk?
Oh, I bonked with like 60k to go. Fuck, I wanted to quit cycling. I was so fucked.
The Hills is run by Mattia. Mattia runs for Enough Cycling, and the Enough Cycling Collective know how to party, and that's exactly what they did in the afternoon. Elias is probably one of my favorite DJs, and they got him to DJ. He definitely inspires a lot of the music that I mix and song selection. I was firmly Vibes crew this day. Sometimes that's just my gig. The Hills, thanks for coming. Let's get it.